That's the best case scenario in our business. That right there.
You're so screwed.
That right there is success.
You both are so screwed.
Hello and welcome back to Dodger Debate. I'm Jack Harris, the LA Times Dodger beat writer, along with our much warmer columnists, Bill Plaschke and Dylan Hernández. I mean, we can still move outside if you guys want to.
I got a problem with you, Jack.
Whoa!
In the press box, somebody opened a window. We froze our butts off the whole game. Nobody would go down and tell the writer to close the window. Aren't you the chapter chairman of the Baseball Writers Association?
Yes, in Los Angeles. We are not in Los Angeles.
Right. So
That's my defense.
as the visitors here, as the leader of the visiting contingent, it's upon you.
We froze tonight, and Jack let us down.
This is
Our
a
leader
war
let us down.
between the beat crews.
Yes, that's how
to
it works.
close the one window.
Who opened a window when it's 20 degrees
They
outside?
wanted the atmosphere of the crowd not cheering
No,
for the Mets.
the crowd cheered for 2 innings and left. The crowd left was quiet. They needed no
Did they
atmosphere.
even cheer for 2 innings? The Dodgers didn't give them much to cheer about, and a 10-2 win to take a 3-1 lead in this NLCS. They're now 1 win away from going to the World Series. The offense was really good tonight, as it's been for a lot of October. Yoshinobu Yamamoto gave them enough, and then the bullpen was scoreless again. I mean, it just kind of felt like almost a rerun of how a lot of these games have gone lately for the Dodgers to get them onto the doorstep of the World Series.
Can you say World Series? It's over. They're going to the World Series. I guarantee it. I guarantee it in my column. I guarantee anybody who can see this. They're so much better than the Mets. The Mets just shouldn't even be here. Dodgers are hitting on all cylinders. They're playing as well as I've seen them play since 2017 against the Astros. Now, as long as there's no trash cans in the World Series, Dodgers will be great.
I mean, today I thought really what kind of set the tone was that first at-bat by Ohtani, right? He homers on the second pitch. Evidently, before the game, Freddie Freeman was kind of giving him a hard time about how he homered late yesterday. So, you know,
Stat padding.
do it early today, you know, and evidently that's why like Ohtani was kind of pointing back towards the dugout and stuff when he homered, whatever. But that really kind of set the tone for the night, right? Because after that, the Mets were not going to pitch to him. Right, no. And they walked him,
or anybody else apparently.
And Mookie Betts, Mookie Betts made him pay, right? Which is kind of what this offense was supposed to look like in its ideal form. So, the fact that they were kind of able to get that going to me is like a really positive trend.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you talk about the offense looking how it was supposed to, it's in two parts. It's you have the guys at the top doing really well, producing in big moments, having big hits. I mean, Mookie Betts, this is probably the best postseason game he's played maybe since the 2020 World Series run. He had a career-high 4 RBIs. But it's also the rest of the lineup and the approach that they had and the ability to tonight their game plan was really simple against Jose Quintana, who finished the regular season really well and had been good in the postseason, mainly by throwing pitches outside of the zone, getting teams to chase, getting teams to swing at stuff they couldn't do damage against. It's the kind of thing the Dodgers have struggled with in recent postseasons, right? Knowing which pitches to hit, getting yourself into advantageous counts, and then punishing the mistakes that pitchers leave over the plate. And tonight, and what's been a postseason that I think the Dodgers have done that pretty well collectively, this was the best example. This was a game where, you know, I think they worked like 20 of their first 30 at-bats were 2-ball counts or more.
You were watching that closely?
Well, you know, the game day, you just go through and count real quick.
You're unbelievable. You watch it so closely. I'm falling asleep. I'm trying to keep Dylan awake. We're freezing our butts off. Can we go home? Is this series over with yet? It's over tomorrow.
I mean, if they keep hitting this way, it probably will be because, like, you look at this lineup right now, it's not just the guys at the top. It's Max Muncy, who set a MLB postseason record by reaching base in 12 consecutive plate appearances safely. It's Tommy Edman, who might be making a case, to be the NLCS MVP. He's got, 6 hits and 7 RBIs and moved up into the cleanup spot tonight with Freddie Freeman out with his sprained ankle, and he drove in 3 runs. It's, you know, even guys like I mean, we've seen what Kike Hernández has done. Is Chris Taylor, I think, got on base one time tonight to kind of set up an inning. And when you're able to do that and you're able to take some of the pressure off the top guys, but also put them in positions to have big hits, to build momentum, to give you an early lead that then you can turn over to the bullpen. I mean, this is the kind of offense that for a lot of reasons the Dodgers have been missing in the past couple postseasons. And I think when you look at just the entire team approach so far this month, it's been much more consistent, it's been much more productive, and it speaks to this, you know, like Max Muncy at the end of last postseason talked about, well, teams, like we looked at the numbers, and teams that swing freely seem to advance more. But when they really dug into it, it's that teams that swing at the right pitches advance more, and that's something that sounds really simple but is difficult to execute, but it looks like they're doing it at a level we haven't seen in at least a couple of years from this team.
And Dylan's guy was great on the mound. Yamamoto, right?
Yeah, great might be stretching it a little
Okay.
bit. He was
no 4-inning bulldog.
he pitched well enough to, well, he didn't pitch well enough to get a win because he didn't make 5 innings. But
I think there was some question going into this game about what the Dodgers might do in Game 5, if they would just go with a straight bullpen game, if they would pitch Jack Flaherty. They're going to go with Flaherty.
Go
and I think it
blackjack.
makes sense.
Go blackjack.
because you just
knock them out.
You need the same formula that you've had the last 2 nights, which is like 4 solid innings from your starter. You can turn it over to the pen. You have Blake Trinan coming in big moments. I mean, to me, that seemed like the right decision and kind of the obvious one coming out of this game.
I was also not really surprised, but expected. Dylan talked about on the flight home, you're going to get an aisle seat.
yes.
Right next to me.
Why are you doing
I'm
aisle
in.
seats? You used to always be a window guy.
Because I have to, because I wake up multiple times in the middle of the night now to go to the bathroom. I'm 44 years old. I'm falling apart, man.
That's what we learned about this series.
Dylan mentions this in the
I
press
live
box.
on the aisle. I live on the aisle, so I'm an aisle guy.
No, it's terrible. I
It's
hate
terrible,
getting
yeah.
beat old.
Well,
Now, like, my hangovers last, like, whenever I go out, like, my hangovers last, like, 3 days now.
But there's barely time to go out drinking because these games are so late. They start late, they end late. And what happened to the pitch clock? This game took 3.5 hours. Where's the freaking pitch clock?
Oh, God.
the Mets have really gone.
I mean, this is the thing about these games, right, is that, like, I do think, right, and, in the game that the Dodgers did lose, there are weak spots in both rosters, right? Obviously, both teams have strengths, but they both have, like, weaknesses. And if you can kind of, like, poke at those weaknesses, like, the whole thing just collapses, right? So we haven't had a single close game yet. This has been some horrible baseball.
It's been a bad series. It's been no fun.
It's fun to look at from like a big picture
Yeah.
thing, right? Like what's going to happen
We're going to the
tomorrow,
World
how's it's
Series,
going to play
yeah.
out. But the games themselves have been. This might be the worst series I've ever covered in my life, like
It's
a
so
postseason series.
And the Mets, to be honest, are terrible. I'm surprised they're even here. No, really.
I mean,
They're no
they're
good.
well, and they're a bad matchup, I think, specifically for the Dodgers. They don't really have anybody other than apparently Sean Manaea who can deal with Shohei Ohtani. They haven't been able to neutralize Mookie Betts for extended periods of time in this series, even though Mookie, I think, is still kind of frustrated with where his swing is at, or at least was going into tonight. Their bullpen is just bad outside of Edwin Diaz, or at least it has been this series, and it's allowed the Dodgers to do the thing they need to do, which is extend leads, protect some of their bullpen arms. Like, they haven't had to go. They've been able to finish last night's game with Ben Casparius, tonight's game with Edgardo Enriquez. And if you're allowing the Dodgers to save some of their bullpen arms and kind of coast into the finish of these games, it puts them, in continually strong spots that if they can get to the starting pitcher, if they can build a lead, it's going to be really hard to come back against them.
Will the Dodgers be favored in the World Series? I think heavy favorites.
Yeah.
Against both teams.
Yeah, I think for sure. I mean, you look at like the Yankees. In some ways, are kind of like this, like a
Yeah, I
better
agree.
version of this Mets team. Like,
I
they
agree.
obviously have more superstar talent. The rotation is better. The bullpen's a little bit better, but it's kind of built the same way. It's a top-heavy lineup, but if you can get to the starters, you can do damage against the bullpen. And I think the Dodgers' bullpen right now is going to match up pretty well against anybody.
Well, just remember what we were saying in the last round, right? That the Padres were probably their toughest opponent. And
Yes.
look, I'm not going to take anything away from the Dodgers because you do create your own luck, and the Dodgers did that by winning the division and securing home field advantage and all that stuff, right? But I do feel we're fortunate to get them like in a 5-game series as opposed to a 7-game series where the Padres starting pitching advantage might have caused them some problems.
A wise member of this show might have had that take going into the NLDS.
Who, me?
No. I said a
I
wise
sure
member.
hell wasn't me.
But yeah, I mean, and like honestly, one of the things watching this postseason is just like there's not that many great teams.
Yeah.
Like the fact that this Dodger team, which limped into October with a patchwork starting rotation and questions about some parts of their lineup, the fact that they've looked by far the most dominant team in the postseason speaks to what I think is a relatively weak field. The Padres were probably the second best team coming into the playoffs, maybe with the Yankees. And yeah, I mean, like you said, the Dodgers, they did what they needed to in the first round. They're doing what they needed to here, and they're going to set themselves up really well, especially I think if they can finish the series tomorrow going into a potential World
If
Series.
Freddie Freeman missed tonight with a bad ankle, he'll have time to heal. They'll all have time to rest. It'll be a good break for them. Be a good break for us.
Yeah. You know, it's again kind of unfortunate in some ways, right? The Padres-Dodgers series here would have been a lot more fun, a lot more entertaining, I think. At the same time, I do kind of like that the regular season is kind of being rewarded. You know, after we've kind of seen, right, with the expansion of the playoffs, kind of the diminishing of the regular season in some ways. So, you know, I'm
A very Andrew Friedman take of you. The regular season is where teams really establish.
Well, keep in mind, like I'm a soccer guy, man. They don't even have playoffs in most soccer leagues, so I would just decide the champion at the end of 162.
All right, are you both picking Dodgers tomorrow?
Yes.
Yes, it's over.
It's over.
Yeah, that's just.
It's guaranteed. I
Yeah, I
guarantee
mean, this is another, you know, not quite as bad as the Padres, but there's like some loser stench associated with this franchise, right? You feel it. I mean, they went quiet.
They went real
It
quiet.
was, you know, I was telling Jack about like the scariest teacher I ever had in my Japanese school, and
Yes, you were.
that stadium got even quieter than his classroom. I mean, that was like, I mean, towards the end of that game, it was you couldn't hear anything.
Yeah, I mean, the fans had given up, the players gave up, they're swinging wildly, the pitchers were throwing terribly. It was awful. It was cold and dreary, and it'll be good to get the Dodgers win tomorrow and get home.
All right. You don't want to tell the full version of your teacher story?
I don't know. I think that this would be might cause some censorship issues.
What did he do,
but-
spank you?
Oh, it's worse than that. I'll tell you later off camera. But Mr. Yoshitomi, if you're still alive, please have to video this.
All right. Well, for two aisle guys and Bill and Dylan, I'm proudly a window guy. And
You won't be for long.
Yeah, that's you
Enjoy that window, buddy.
Not when you do this job.
Look at me. You're going to be me. That's what you have to look forward to is me.
All right. Well,
It's a dreary life.
That's the best case scenario in our
Yeah.
business. That right there.
You're so screwed.
That right there is success.
You both are so screwed.
All right. Well, we'll be back here tomorrow to see if we're going to be watching baseball this weekend or if the Dodgers are going to be in the World Series. So we'll talk to you then. Thank you for watching.